At this moment in Kenya, there is a lot of pessimism. But allow me to say that at this particular time, it is good to learn biblical lessons. Today, I want us to go to the book of First, Second Kings, and let's look at a man by the name of Jehu. Jehu is considered a successful failure. Why is Jehu considered a successful failure? His zeal, enthusiasm, and obedience. He was anointed by Elisha to take over from the wicked king Ahab, who had instituted idolatry. This man seemed to have been obedient to God, but he was a conniving politician. Not only a conniving politician, he was brutal, public demagogue who only obeyed God when it suited his own interest. Indeed, he was a brutal murderer's king. He murdered as ordered by God as divine retribution. He murdered Ahab, proceeded to kill Jezebel in the land that Naboth was deprived of. This interesting man was very successful, cheered. He destroyed Baal. He only obeyed God to the extent that it served his own interest. In the current political class, sometimes the church, religion has been used only to the extent that it serves the politician's interest. But when it comes to the issues of forgiveness, mercy, reconciliation, religion is out of the door. When it comes to talking civilly and to referring to one another as brothers and sisters made in the image and the likeness of God, no, even in the altar, they can abuse rivals. They only obey God inasmuch as it satisfies their own whims. He is successful, Jehu, but a failure. Successful failure. He is successful because he obeyed God's voice. He destroyed Baal worship. He called all the Baal, the descendants of Ahab, killed all of them. But he also called the Baal prophets by conniving. And he told them to meet him. He wanted to worship Baal. Finally, he destroyed all of them and he destroyed Baal. That is the positive side of him. Outwardly, it seemed that he obeyed God, but for a political motive. Power, brutality was part and parcel of Jehu. But let's study why is he considered a failure? He did not turn away from idolatry. He still kept some of the idols in Bethel, where Jeroboam had firstly kept the idols. That means he did not obey God fully. You'll find very interesting people. A classic example is that there was a president of a very powerful country. He obeyed God, but sometimes what he did, he abused people. Sometimes there were allegations of rape. Yet he was active in stating that he obeyed God and followed God to the letter. Jehu, a successful failure, did not obey God completely. He proceeded to kill people that were not part of the divine judgment. He was murderous. Because of his obedience, 4 of his descendants became king. But because of his disobedience and his failure to completely obey God, what happened? Part of his territory was ceded. And it was the beginning of the end of the northern kingdom. The northern kingdom that the grandfather Omri built at Damascus as the headquarters was destroyed completely in the time of Jehu. There was a there was a gradual process of seeding, and finally in 722 BC, the Assyrians took over. And up to today, the northern kingdom did not come back to life. It's only the southern kingdom that was repatriated after the Babylonian captivity, and it remained with the messianic hope as promised. What lessons can we learn? It is great to obey God. When we obey God, we will succeed. What we learn, number 2, we learn that we need to obey God with the correct motive. Even as we go to church, we do it to glorify God and to serve humanity, not for political expediency. The third thing that we learn is half-hearted worship of God has disastrous consequences. The other lesson that we learn is when God gives you a position, it is not to justify everything that you do, because finally God will bring everything to judgment. Just as he withdrew part of the kingdom from Jehu. The other thing is always let's serve God with our whole hearts. May we learn as Kenyans the lessons of Jehu. Sometimes religion can be used to achieve a particular end, but half-hearted service to God is no service, and it will have disastrous consequences. And if we do not take it plainly and seriously, we'll end up losing part of our nations. Let's wholeheartedly turn to God. And God is the ultimate preserver, restorer of this nation. May the Lord richly bless you as we turn back to God. In the name of God the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit.